Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Strength Coach TV. My name is Anthony Renna. First of all, I want to say thanks to everyone for all the really positive feedback, whether it was on Facebook or emailing me or on strengthcoach.com. I really appreciate it. Glad that this is something that people are going to get something out of. What we're going to do today, like I said last time, we're going to visit a bunch of facilities. And back in June, I visited a bunch of facilities before I went to the Perform Better Summit. So one of them that I went to was Cressey Performance in Hudson, Massachusetts. Now, one thing about this visit that I went on, Eric, don't forget it was about 7-8 months ago, and they had about 6,600 square feet, I think Eric said it was. They've expanded, they're up to about 7,500. So what you're seeing today will not be a complete representation of Cressey Performances right now. Like I said, they went up about another 1,000 square feet. They've added some office space. They've added where their offices were in this video was they've added some gym floor, and they've changed the entrance. And then now they've also have room for some manual therapy. So some good stuff happening up at Cressey Performance. They've expanded, so that's pretty cool. So maybe we'll go back up there. We'll do kind of an expansion issue or episode. And talk to a few different people who've expanded. One thing we've done here at 5 Iron Fitness is expanded, just recently added another 800 square feet, so maybe we'll kind of combine those two things. So we're going to go to Cressey Performance, we're going to check that out. Before I do that, remember you can check us out on YouTube or at Strength Coach TV. So go to YouTube, subscribe. We're always going to be showing these on strengthcoach.com and on strengtheningconditioningwebinars.com, but also for those of you, sometimes the file is a little big, so it might be easier to view on YouTube. So let's head up to Hudson, Mass to Cressey Performance. All right, Anthony Renna from the Strength Coach Podcast and strengtheningconditioningwebinars.com. We are continuing our tour on the great facilities of the Northeast, and today we are at Cressey Performance in Hudson, Massachusetts. Eric, as everybody knows, has a lot of followers and is one of those trainers of the trainers. He's really known right now for the shoulder and for baseball players. So we're going to talk to him about his studio and what he's doing here. So Eric, come on over. I'm going to hand this over to you.
All right.
So just give us an overview of like the design and what you did here.
I got you. Well, we've been in this actual location since May of 2008. We had been about 3 miles west of here, about 3,300 square feet. So all told, we're 6,600 square feet in this area. When we moved to the new location, one of my biggest requests was that we find a rectangle. It's a much more coaching-friendly setup. Previously, we had about a 35-yard straightaway, and then it curled around. It was like a candy cane shape. So from a coaching standpoint, you had some blind spots, and it wasn't always, real user-friendly. So we looked for a new spot. We obviously wanted, something we could see everything. So in this scenario, we wound up with about a 47-yard turf straightaway. We lose a little bit on the end here because of the crash wall, but we can gain it back down on the end by opening up that garage door. What's great about that too, it's easy for equipment deliveries, things like that. We have our load and loading dock. We're on the first floor. The soundproofing in the building was one thing that we had to look at real closely, having loud music, guys throwing med balls against walls.
Did you do anything special?
We didn't have to, actually. We made sure we looked into it. We did our lease negotiation and all that. They have had to fortify some stuff. The only things we've had issues with in the past are dropping 600-pound deadlifts. The neighbors across the hall don't really like that, especially when they're doing, they do some fine tuning with instruments and things like that that are pretty precise. So in that regard, one thing that's helped is just moving some of the equipment around a tiny bit, so that when stuff does get dropped, it's not so close to the support beams that carry a lot of the vibrations. So that's helped. And if we're going to lift really heavy stuff, we try to do it on hours that's not going to really disturb their normal 9 to 5. A couple other things that we actually had to add when we came in here. We got a 20-foot medicine ball wall down there that's 8 feet high. That gets a ton of use around here, so that was something we had to build ourselves. We brought in just a mason to do that. We also brought in the cage, given the amount of baseball players that we work with. So what we can do is we can pull this netting right out. It gets to about almost where we are right now, so you can get the full 60 feet 6 inches. If you want to throw a mound in, that works great. We got a little storage space behind there, and you can pull the mound right down off the wall here, so it's a removable turf mound. So right over here on the left. The other good thing is we have the turf straightaway to use. So this is where people are often surprised. They walk in here and they expect to see 40 ellipticals in a row and a bunch of different bikes and and treadmills and all that stuff. I mean, we joke that our treadmill is just a place for guys to rest their shaker bottles. Most of the interval stuff we're going to do, we might use sledgehammers on the tire. We do medicine ball stuff. We'll push the sled. We'll do farmer's walk. We can do stuff with the keg. We can do the speed chains. We can do sprinting and movement training, slide boards. We've got ropes down there that we can use. So it's not something that people are going to get stuck in that one repetitive motion over and over again. So that kind of speaks to what's going on the floor here. And we were kind of duly outfitted. The majority of the stuff comes from Perform Better. They did a great job and were a huge help. And we did get our racks and some of our specialty bars from Elite Fitness. But aside from that, you'll see some modifications that we made for baseball players. You got the giant cambered bar. You've got the safety squat bar. Things like that we can use to keep guys' shoulders healthy and not have to back squat them. We got kettlebells. The other nice amenities within the building, we got a cafeteria here so our athletes can, roll there and get some food if they need to. We've got, locker rooms and showers. We've got, pretty much everything we need, some office space. And where it's also really beneficial is just our location. We're kind of right on an important thoroughway in Massachusetts 495. So with our location, we can draw from Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. So we'll get people from Boston and from, even closer to Hartford. We're almost dead center.
Now, you're a destination though.
Yeah.
So if you're going to move, is that going to be something you're really going to think about?
We have our core clientele, which is probably just east of here. So if we were going to move, we certainly wouldn't go west. The thing about it though is that the baseball niche is something that's made it such that people are willing to travel a little bit further. I know Thomas Plummer talks about like the 12-mile radius and all that. People only come a certain amount of distance. I mean, in the wintertime, we have kids who come from, California, Florida, Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, all over the place just to train here for baseball. And, in little old snowy Massachusetts. Apologies for the Snoop Dogg here in the background. That should be taken care of, but I guess that's all part of the experience, right?
There you go. Hey, if you were going to expand, and maybe you will in another year or two, what would be something you might do different in terms of setup, or would you add something? What would you do differently?
With the setup, I definitely go with more office space. One thing I hadn't anticipated, but I absolutely love, is that our office becomes a congregating place. It becomes a very much an environment where athletes really like to hang out and do their thing. So in a situation like that, people do tend to get very congregated in a small space. So I'd have more office area. I share my office with two other guys right now. Pete kind of has the main desk, and that's where everyone rolls right through. So it gets a lot of foot traffic. And you come in here in the middle of January, and you might see 12 minor league baseball players just chilling out, drinking their shakes, talking about how to hold a two-seam fastball. It's great, if you're a 15-year-old high school kid, it's you're starstruck, you get to listen in on stuff, and it certainly helps from an accidental marketing standpoint for us, but it can get pretty cluttered and work in the way like that. So if we did expand, going bigger with our office space would be an absolute must, and I'd actually potentially opt for a second floor office if I could pull it off to be a little bit more separate from things.
When you say office, you mean like maybe even a lounge area, right? Like AP, Athletes Performance, has that lounge area for some of the people. Would you do something like that?
Yeah, I think it's to a degree, yeah. We have the cafeteria and guys can go lounge there, but in reality, these guys want to be part of the action. They want to be in the thick of things, so they kind of were going to create their lounge wherever they wanted to. If we put in big screen TVs and plush couches, I think a lot of guys would actually be kind of irritated because they come here for like the hardcore environment. They want to know that they're going to leave covered in chalk, and kick out a lot of elbow grease while they're here. So I don't think they want to be coddled, and that's that's kind of the guidance that we draw. We don't get the kids that need to go someplace warm and and do their thing there for a couple weeks. We get guys who moved to snowy Massachusetts from September 15th up until the end of February, just to have that level of specialization that we have within our niche. And that's another kind of, it's not so much a facility mistake that I think we made, but maybe more of an overall, I don't want to say marketing, but overall mindset pitch is that people think that we're so niched in baseball that we don't do other stuff. So it almost gets to the point where you figure, parents don't want to come in here because they think, hey, that's their son's place, he's getting there to get better at baseball. So, my background, like I mentioned to you, is I'm basketball and soccer when I first started out, and I got into baseball a little bit later. So, in the reality, that's something that's starting to change slowly but surely. So right now we're probably 75 to 80% baseball players, and it's kind of gradually changing along the way. But most of the time you come in here and that's pretty much what you're going to be dealing with for the most part.
Cool. So you think, is that your biggest challenge in terms of having a facility, marketing in that respect, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, marketing is an interesting term. You know, in terms of advertising, we do zero. We haven't spent a penny on it since I started up in 2006, and you know, we did 15% growth in 2009 in spite of the economy. So it worked out well, and that's where niche has been very good. It's also great in the sense that, you know, I get 8 weeks a year where I can just watch baseball. You know, we can take time on facility maintenance, do more continuing education for our staff and all that. So it is nice at times, but you know, obviously when guys are in season, you don't get revenue as much. So there's a little bit of a downside to that. But you know, I think one of the things that's been the biggest struggle for me personally is, you know, I started out as a one-man show. I was doing billing, scheduling, all that. You know, and as part of that, if you want to grow and do things the way that you want and keep the level of individuation that you insist on, it means that you're going to have to trust other people. So for me, one of the hard parts with that is, you know, I have great staff, and it just took time for me to realize, you know, I can throw the ball in their court. I don't need to always answer the phone. I don't need to be the one swiping the credit cards and stuff. So, and it's a learning process, you know, and you're grooming guys for being able to write programs and, you know, in the style that you've kind of created. But it does take some time to really get to that point, and I think we are. But you know, the secret for me is, you know, you grow slowly, you know, and don't try to do things too quickly, because, you know, where we're going to be a lot different than other facilities in kind of our arena is it's not just one program up on the gyrates board, everybody, you know, kind of just going through the motions. You know, we don't book 90-minute slots where you come in at 10 or you come in at 11:30. You know, we do sliding starts, we do individualized programs, we evaluate everybody. So you walk in here and we might have 7 athletes in right now. All of them has their own program, you know, doing exactly what they need to do. You know, so, you know, Keith as a 6'8" lefty pitcher needs something that's different than Gordy as a, you know, a 5'11" righty pitcher. You know, they have different training experiences, different injury histories, all that. So you have to handle things at a different level. But what that means is it doesn't just mean you can quickly replace guys. So if you have turnover with your staff, that's a big deal. Yeah. So I know, I mean, I've heard stories about, you know, commercial gyms having, you know, like 70% turnover over the course of a year. Like, that would crush us. You know, I've put a lot of time in educating our guys, and we make sure that we compensate them and give them, you know, a lot of career opportunities that make them want to stay and, you know, be an important part of the process. So, I mean, so far it's worked well. We had 33 applicants for our internship this summer, so we wound up choosing, you know, 3. So it's worked out well. So, you know, that's just kind of where we're at right now. But it's always a work in progress. You know, the second you think you got it, you're in trouble. But I've been fortunate to have, you know, Cosgrove as a mentor. You know, Alan taught me a lot of things that, you know, were great information and, you know, helped me to avoid a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, you know, it's important to understand how, you know, my clientele may be a little bit different than his and how to modify those recommendations accordingly.
Awesome. Well, you've done a great job. Thanks for your time today.
No sweat.
All right.
Whether you're opening a small personal training studio or a major strength and conditioning facility, Perform Better's fitness facility design team will work with you from layout to installation to create the fitness facility design that best meets your needs and budget. Their team of facility design experts is dedicated to bringing you the best advice and equipment to help you and your teams perform better. Go to performbetter.com, fill out a facility design form, and one of their trained facility designers will contact you to get started on your fitness facility today. I use Perform Better when I open up my studio, and I cannot recommend them high enough. Go to performbetter.com.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 2 of Strength Coach TV. Special thanks to Eric Cressey, Pete Dupuis, and Tony Genlacourt for allowing us to come up and take some of their time out. Those guys are always so busy up there, so we really appreciate their time. We are going to try and get back up there and check out the expansion. I think it'll be kind of a cool episode to do. Next time, we are not going to facility for episode 3. We're going to talk to Gray Cook about some club swinging. After that, we're going to see Frank Nash up in Worcester, Massachusetts. We have Coach Boyle coming up, Alan Cosgrove, a couple of places in New York City, Joe Dowdell and Donnie Saladino at Drive 495. We have some good stuff coming up. Don't forget, you can check us out at strengthcoachtv.com, or you can go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can just do a search for Strength Coach TV. My name is Anthony Renna. Until next episode, thanks again.